there are those of us who came here that know that we came not only for a spiritual purpose, but to manifest the highest expressions of divine spirit in the earth. We are conduits, if you will, conduits of spirit into the earth, manifesting the higher spiritual things, or portals to bring on earth as it is in heaven. I like to call us governors, because I believe that not only do we manifest spiritual things in earth, are we conduits or portals, but that also we govern. We have an awareness as to the righteousness of how spirit operates. And we are unctioned all the time, and spirit is unctioning and stretching out into us. And I believe as governors, we are called to embody and integrate spirit even more in how we show up in the earth. And with that, a huge part of allowing your spirit or spirituality to be integrated into how you show up in everything you do on a daily basis is to move from belief to knowing. We have to move from belief to knowing. And a lot of the systems that we've been raised in or we depend on, we hear a lot about belief. I believe, we should believe. Even in our religious systems, it's about belief. But the spirit of the Most High is so precise that we have to go from believing to knowing. And how do we do that? We go from believing to knowing by leaning into the unctions that are given to us by spirit. Whether that's something that comes through your intuition and observing for that, testing it out. If spirit unctions you to do a thing and you give it a try, and you're willing to lean into that no matter how it looks, to test it, test the spirit, right? Another way that you can go from belief to knowing is thinking about discernment. When you are shown something about a particular situation, a particular person, that you allow what you see to be integrated into how you begin to conceptualize a situation, right? Sometimes those are things that we are okay with seeing, but some of those things are sometimes not. I remember earlier in my journey when the spirit would show me certain things about certain people, and I used to feel bad about knowing those things sometimes. But when we begin to lean into that unctioning of the spirit or intuition, and we begin to lean into the things that are shown to us in our spiritual eyes about situations, about people, whether they are good or considered not so good, when you begin to lean into that discernment, then you start to kind of take in account of every time it was accurate or more accurate or more spot on. And the more you begin to trust into that, the more spirit will begin to give you for you to begin to see that what you are seeing, what you are feeling, what you are picking up on, or how you have been asked to operate or execute in the earth is spot on. And then you can move from believing a thing, from believing in the spirit to knowing, because us as conduits and portals, we are governors, and we have to create fact patterns on which we can continue to build our spiritual practices. A lot of times in this realm that we in, and particularly a lot of the spaces that I've operated in as it relates to wellness, mental health, our mental health as Black people, we use what's called evidence-based practices. So of course those evidence-based practices are built on research and built on fact patterns that people have set into place to say that these methods of healing work, these methods of behavioral change or mindset change, they are work based upon the evidence. When it comes to spiritual things, people like to look at it as if it's woo-woo or far out, and I believe that perpetuates a narrative that if you do depend on spirit, then something is wrong with you. And that is absolutely inaccurate, and it's backwards, right? So in order for us to be more accurate in our spiritual work, we actually have to work the work. And that comes with you practicing your skill. Think of it in terms of a martial arts. When a young student is learning martial arts, they learn the movement, they learn the fluidity of spirit, and as they practice more and more and they practice, they become precise. It becomes precision where they begin to execute those movements with precision. And martial arts is built on spiritual practices, or spirit, if you will, right? And we understand that we are mostly spirit, and we can build fact patterns on which we can execute, so that when we are faced with particular situations, when people that we know and love are faced with particular situations, that we have spiritual fact patterns, methods which we operate in, that we know will allow us to achieve whatever we're looking to achieve. I've been able in my own life to build fact patterns as it relates to manifesting physical things in my life, manifesting great outcomes in my career path, manifesting great outcomes in my relationships, moving things that were not meant for me out of my life. When I tried to handle these things through natural intellect, it worked to a degree. Yes, things work to a degree because we were given natural intellect, we were given mental capacity to allow those things to work for us, to allow our minds to work for us. But us being spiritual beings with high callings, there are greater things with which we must operate, or greater tools which we use. Again, we came with great spiritual tools. And we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and spiritual wickedness in high places, right? So if we're not having a physical battle, then we cannot use physical methods. If we are not having merely or only a mental battle, we cannot use only mental methods or mental processes or mental tools. Those work to a degree, but there's an even greater method with which we can move around, in which we are called to move around into. It is our natural state of being, right? And it's not for everybody to figure out. It is not for everybody to know. That is why the Christ in the scripture spoke in parables, because it's not given to everybody. There are things in the spirit that words cannot be put to. It cannot be uttered with words. But those who know by the Spirit know. So we are called to be who we truly are. And these bodies that we were given are our main tool, which inhabits our spirit, right? The kingdom of the Most High is within, right? To bring that kingdom out. And it is all spirit. And then spirit will rise up and manifest in our minds, in our perception, the way we perceive things, how we make use of our minds to solve problems, to create, to be dynamic in the earth. So I want you to really think about what's showing up in your life and how you can go from knowing to believe it. And you can start with one thing or a couple of things and go from just believing a thing can be and you can create it to knowing and show up in the world from that position of immense power and strength.